In this video, we're going to go through how we were able to help turn around the profitability of a $3 million a year home health agency, and to dive into the challenges they were facing, what we did to help fix some of those challenges, and then what the future looks like for them now that they've got clear financials and able to scale profitably. Let's get into it.
All right, in this video, I want to go through a case study of a home health care agency that we've been working with in Colorado. I want to take you through the challenges they were presented with before coming to us at CEO Finance Academy, what we were able to do to help them, and then kind of where they're at now in their path moving forward for continued profitability and ultimately becoming a more financially adept company. So let's get into this. A couple of things, but we start with the client snapshot here. They're obviously in the caregiving, home health style operations services based out of Colorado, and their team's a mix of caregivers and admin staff, so pretty classic home health agency. Their revenue projected to do around 3.1 to 3.5 million this year. So margins that we found out before cleanup, so really going in before we were able to make any changes. So one of the things that we do with all of our clients is we start with an accounting assessment. We go and look at their processes, get a good understanding of current idea of their margins. So gross margin around 43%, didn't sound too bad, but net margin, overall net margin was around 9%. So what were the challenges they were facing when they came to us? Well, first was messy cost categorization. So payroll, benefits, and insurance were misclassified in QuickBooks. This is a huge deal if we don't know how much of our costs are actually being allocated to payroll, how much is being allocated to benefits and insurance. And if they're misaligned, miscategorized, it can cause all kinds of issues with really getting down to what is your true profit margin per service line. So it's really hard to see true baseline expenses versus direct labor because there was so much mixed in and so much that was misclassified. So that was number one. Number two was an unclear growth path. So we were targeting around 3.5 million a year in revenue this year, but it's unclear if the current monthly pace could actually get there based on our profitability. And so what we needed was we actually needed projections to test if scaling the workforce hours could match the revenue goals. So for example, one of the big things that we do with our clients, especially towards the end of our time together, is actually going through labor capacity. So mapping out demand versus capacity. If we want to hit a certain revenue amount, how much labor does that require? How much team does that require? At what profitability does that scale to? Meaning we have certain companies that will go for double their revenue, but their profit margin is going to dip by 25-30% factoring in labor costs. And so we have to make a decision. Does it make sense to scale to that revenue mark if we're going to sacrifice profitability? That's up for the owner to kind of decide, and things that we talk through. So that was number two, not having a clear growth path. Number three was AR collections issues. So this is a huge deal. Almost a fifth of the receivables, meaning bills that were going to be paid, were over 30 days, or were over 30 days due, meaning that is 1 out of 5 payments is actually lasting over a month before you actually get paid. So in some of them, in this case, we were able to find were even almost 6 months plus of time, which is just huge in terms of cash flow, right? Getting that cash in. So you might be able to put that on your books if you know that money's going to come in, but you don't have that as cash on hand. And that really stalls us from being able to make good decisions around how can we allocate cash if we don't have that cash. And so these are some of the challenges that we were facing. And so what did we implement? So after our accounting assessment, we realized we needed to reclassify payroll, health insurance, and benefits into correct categories. And that actually allowed us to get a really clear idea of baseline expenses, kind of what those were, what our gross margin was, and what a true net margin actually was, which allows us to then go, hey, what can we do from here in terms of scaling now that we know what our true net margin is and what our true gross margin is? So the second thing we did was we built growth projections. So we built forecasts to test if 3.5 was realistic given our staffing capacity. We showed that the pricing strategy, not just the workforce hours, would drive revenue growth. So they were just thinking in terms of workforce hours, can we just get more people, more? And we also looked at, hey, we might have to adjust pricing strategy to be able to hit that revenue goal while being able to maintain a certain amount of labor versus scaling just labor, more and more labor while sacrificing profit margins. So that's a huge thing that we came away with. Number three was accounts receivable management. So we were reviewing their AR aging reports and recommended writing off uncollected balances And then we implemented monthly reconciliation cadence for AR versus bank deposits. So that was the third thing that we did. Fourth was cash flow tools. So like we do with almost all of our clients, we introduced the Wealth Waterfall system. Again, there's videos I have around on our YouTube channel that you can go look up our Wealth Waterfall system. The Wealth Waterfall system is, what do you do with cash left over at the end of the month? How do you distribute it? How do you put it into different buckets and reserves, buckets and accounts that are going to allow you to be able to see how much you actually have in terms of cash on hand when you take out, for example, taxes, for example, reserves, other kinds of things. So that allows us to be able to see that. We also developed a 13-week cash tracker to monitor real-time runway. And that 13-week is just a small portion. We also get into a 6-month and year-long cash flow projection as well. So last thing is leadership confidence. So we taught the owner to present the numbers simply to her team, creating a culture of financial visibility. So prior to this, because we didn't have good visibility into this, we all, there was a lack of being able to feel like we could be transparent with the team around what was going on with the finances. So after installing this, this is over a 12-week period. What can we look at in terms of, okay, what's this going to mean for her? So given, the revenue size going to be somewhere between 3.1 and we're guessing between 3.1 and 3.5 projected annual revenue, by basically getting down to what our true gross margin was, being able to adjust pricing, that with just a 2% margin improvement, we're going to look at over $62,000 more in profit this year, not just revenue, but profit to the bottom line. And then improved accounts receivables discipline is going to be able to help us unlock, we think, $50,000 to $75,000 in working capital, just by being better at collections, just by being creating a process around how are we going to collect on that, so it doesn't take 30 days, in this case, sometimes 6 months to get collections. And then the next thing is we freed up the owner's time and stress by delegating invoicing and gaining visibility, allowing her to focus on scaling confidently. So it's obviously the culminator of this, being able to free up time, have better confidence in the decisions that they're making because the data is clear. We're able to actually see what are the levers that we can pull to improve profitability. So what are we going to be working on with them next? Continuing on with them as a client, we're going to be pushing collections discipline to obviously reduce 90-day AR, get it under 30 days, and continue to improve that timeline as fast as we can. We're going to look at tracking monthly progress towards that 3.5 million revenue target. A big piece of that is going through the pricing side of things. 3 is going to be implementing standardized workforce cost modeling for scalability, and then continue to reinforce financial leadership in team meetings. So this is our case study of home health agency in Colorado, doing around 3.1 to 3.5 million this year, depending on how everything falls in line. And I hope you enjoyed this one. If you're dealing with any of these kind of struggles, this is the kind of work that we do. I fully expect this client's going to continue to see improved profitability and being able to make better financial decisions around labor, around pricing because of the work we're doing. So hope this helps. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you're interested in other case studies, just give us a subscribe on YouTube, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.